Welcome to Worthy the Podcast, where we have conversations about what it means to feel worthy and what happens when we don't. I'm your host, Jessica Raimondi.
All right, guys, welcome back to Worthy. We are sitting down today with someone who has a really powerful story. She has lost her home last year in the Altadena fires, and prior to that, suffered the loss of her husband during COVID, and really turned this profound loss into this powerful purpose with art and candle making as a practice of healing and creating work that honors community, ritual, and the quiet ways that we find light again. So welcome to Worthy, Marike Anderson. So listen, you've experienced a significant amount of loss in a very short amount of time. And I'm really honored to kind of dive into your story today. So I really want to thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to chat.
I know, me too. All right, well, let's begin with the fires again, right? So if you weren't living under a rock, obviously last year, 2025, very early on, we had several fires that raged through communities, burnt down several thousands of houses in the neighborhood of Altadena, which is where you were living.
Yeah.
It was such a deeply devastating story for everybody here, everybody that suffered the loss. And, you know, I lived here for 14 years and I was deeply affected by it as well. Can you tell us your experience during that time a bit?
Yeah. So the day of, let's say, I had a friend come over early. It was so windy. So I was like, I'm just going to stay inside, make candles all day. And he came over with this sort of like, I've been listening to this guy and it's going to be a hurricane of wind over the mountains. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, I was like on high alert, but, and the Palisades fires had started. So I was aware of that. And I was a teacher at Pali High for 10 years. So
the high school there.
So I'm very entrenched in that community and that environment. And a lot of my best friends were Pali teachers, are Pali teachers. So I was aware of that and already just, wow. So in the evening, I had a yoga class scheduled and it's the new year. I'm doing a cleanse, right? Because I'm like,
New you.
I'm new me. Yeah. I'm doing this. I'm on day 2 of this cleanse and I have this yoga class. So I'm like, I'm not going to miss this class just because of these winds. I had my son over at his sister's house. She was in her 20s because I thought the power might go out. So I go to the yoga class. It's on the 2nd floor. There's palm trees like banging into the windows, knocking the door open. I'm like, we finished the class and I have on the texts on my phone that are like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, shit. So I see there's a fire in Altadena. Yeah. I'm like, okay. I'm driving up from Pasadena and I'm getting closer to my house and I could see, oh, the fire is in the mountains behind my house.
You could see the fire, not even just the smoke. Okay.
Yes. I'm seeing fire in the hillside, which has happened before, but never when there was an 80-mile-an-hour wind. So I get home, we still had power and everything. And I know there's a lot of people that were like, we grabbed a few things. We thought we'd be back the next day. I was like, my house is going to burn down. And I've had this throughout my life. Just there's a knowingness, just the soul knows this is truth. This is what's happening. So I called a friend from Topanga because she's had to evacuate a million times. What do I do? She says, take a video of your whole house for insurance, every room. I was like, okay. And she said, you're not going to be able to take everything. So grab a few things that capture the essence of your life. And then you just got to go.
Wow. I mean, what was even going through? Like, how do you?
I sat on my couch. I sat on my couch. I looked around and I'm like, this is my whole life. Like, what do I grab?
Yeah. Where do you start?
Yeah. And so I took my paintings. So I had done a series of paintings when Edwin died, grief art and his portrait and Bodhi's portrait. I grabbed all those and some other artwork. I grabbed Edwin's urn and Bodhi's bedding because I wanted him to feel like I wanted him to smell his own bedding wherever we ended up. And my box with passports and documents. And that was it. Like, I didn't even fill up my car. It's a lifetime. And it's not just my lifetime. It's Edwin's stuff. He worked on The Simpsons for 23 years.
Oh, wow.
It was all his memorabilia and cells and scripts. And I had just had a yoga retreat for winter solstice.
Okay.
And all the bolsters and blocks and mats were all in the way in the garage of getting to all the sentimental stuff, which was in the back.
Of course.
So I was like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. So interestingly, at that winter solstice retreat, we did manifestation jars. And every year at the retreat, we would kind of set our intention for the new year. So it's like, processing previous year and saying, okay. So the previous year, winter solstice 2023, my intention was growth. And oh my God, it was such a hard year. It was
like,
such a
ask
hard
and you
year.
shall receive
Yes.
the opportunity to grow.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did a lot of growing, but it was excruciating. It was like ego death upon ego death.
Yeah. You're
all
like,
of
"I need to be more
2024.
specific next time. Yeah.
So for 2024 winter solstice, I was like, I am done growing. I am ready to reap some benefits. Okay. So my word was abundance. So girl, when my house is burning down January 7th, like 3 weeks after winter solstice, I was like laughing.
Are you
Like
serious?
abundance.
You wrote down abundance.
Okay, universe, right? Anyway, we'll come back to that.
Yes.
So I packed stuff in my cars. I picked up Bodhi. We went to my mom's house. She's in North Pass. So in the night, I got a call from my neighbor. It's like, I'm here. I'm going to try and save things, whatever. I get another call, my landlord. Are you out of the house? Yeah, I'm out of the house. Good, because my street's on fire. So 2 people passed away on his street.
Oh my God.
There was no evacuation on our side of town. He heard an explosion and went door to door. He opened his door, blocks on fire, went door to door, waking people up. So, and then a little while later, my neighbor said, sorry, our houses are on fire. I gotta go. So I knew by morning my house was not going to be there. So then we got evacuated from my mom's about 5 a.m. I thought the fire was
And where was your mom? Where'd you guys
North
go?
Pasadena.
Okay.
So I thought it had passed Altadena into our side of Pasadena. I thought all of LA was going to burn down.
Right. I believe that we all kind of did. Yeah.
Yeah.
It had just, it was wild.
It was like being
One after the
inside
other.
Armageddon and just thinking, they're not stopping this. It's not going to stop. So we went to South Pasadena where my brother's at. My niece and nephew were up. My brother brought me coffee. I sat down at the table. I cried for a second just from sheer exhaustion of just the insanity of what we've just been through. And then he said, and I said, I left all my candle stuff, And he said, well, Auntie Mika, at least your house probably smelled really good when it was burning.
The innocence of like just being able to bring you right back.
I love him. And you know what? I just laughed and was like, all right.
Yeah.
So then that morning we're watching the news because I had only experienced the fire up until that point from within it, right? I wasn't watching.
Right. Like the world is watching.
Yeah. So I sat down and I'm seeing the Palisades. Now I met my husband Edwin when I was teaching 9th grade at Pali High. We did an animation workshop and my classroom was on the back of the campus near the bungalows. So I know my house is burned down.
Oh my God.
I'm watching the news and they're literally showing the exact spot on the Pali High campus where I met my husband.
I have goosebumps.
I'm like, okay, universe, like this feels very personal at this point. Like this is very specific.
It does. It does. What were the kind of words you were having with the universe in that moment?
I mean, so when it being so dramatically personal,
Totally.
I'm like, well, then it must be personal in the sense of I set this attention for abundance. I'm telling the universe I'm ready for the next thing. And I felt like Goddess Callie was like,
100%.
oh, are you? We're going to fireball
Burn this
your
bitch down.
whole life and we're going to start over. That's how it felt. So it was this
Did you kind of get it like almost in the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe you wrote that word down though. And it's like, we really do need to be like very specific these days.
Right.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So I really had a laugh with the universe.
Well, God love your sense of humor.
So everything's gone. I have no idea where we're going or what we're going to do. and I get a call about doing an interview with an influencer who wants it. He wanted to interview a Pali High teacher, and one of my friends from there sent him my way. So I do this video with this guy, and it goes viral. Like,
Is that the one of you standing on the
it's me standing with this. So I had just met him. It wasn't, but it was anyway, so we meet there, and then that goes viral, and then all of a sudden there's this GoFundMe, and there's global attention.
Wow.
Like it has like 10 million views or something on the platforms. And then it becomes this joke with the universe about abundance, right? Like, oh, okay, you want this year to be abundance. I'm starting with just maximum drama.
In ground zero. Maximum.
And I've got people around the world that like are asking for money or offering new wardrobes, or like, I mean, it was just crazy.
Like you could, it's profound, like how people can come together in those moments.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were able to see that as abundant and not like immediately fall into like this, I'm sure you did have moments of like, why me? Right. But
I mean,
it seemed you have such this a beautiful
maybe it's just the way my life has gone that I'm like, of course this is happening to me.
attitude.
But I'm not even saying that in a self-pity way.
Right.
It's just my soul in this iteration of being is like, I want all the lessons to come in the most dramatic form.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with God where I feel like I was saying to him that like, I think I would like to learn through peace, not pain. That was my, I don't know, it was my intention for this year, but I kind of was like, we're good for a minute. Yeah.
Yes.
We're good for a minute.
But I needed
that.
that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it does feel like all this grief and loss, it's impossible in grief to wear a mask, I find. I have found in my experience. And I did a lot of masking, not because I'm an inauthentic person. I think I'm an authentic person, but we're just socialized and we're in this culture and we're, there's just to really get in touch with like, what is this quiet voice in my soul asking for? Like a lot needs to be stripped away. And that's painful. And I feel like I did a series of nude self-portraits, right? Like I'm stripped down. Like there's not a
this past year, or
well, that was
it
after,
before?
So after Edwin died, so I started painting portraits when COVID shut down.
Okay.
Happened. Because I was always artistic, but I would never say I was an artist because other people are artists. Other people who are more talented than me are artists. I just, have a lifetime of using art to survive life, right? Which is, to me, what being an artist is now from this perspective. But I was so afraid to declare that because somebody could come back and say, you're not an artist, and here's all the reasons why. But anyway, so as an adult, COVID was the first time I had like time to create or do anything besides work. So in that first year, I did 20 paintings. My husband, Edwin, taught me because his background was fine arts. And he coached me. And then the last painting I did in that first year was a portrait of him holding a bouquet of sunflowers. And he didn't help me at all. He didn't say a word. He just let me work on it. And then when I was finally done, he sat down, looked it over, and he's like, it's good. It's really, really good. And he would just sit and stare at it and be like, Marike, this is really good. And it felt in a way that he felt like, okay, I've done my job. Like she's there and she gets it. She's an artist. Because he had, from the time we started dating, he was like, you're an artist, you're an artist. And I was like, and then he died a month later after I finished that painting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's go back to Edwin a bit. So how did you guys meet?
So we were at Pali. A friend of a friend asked if I would do an animation program with my students. It was a 9th grade elective. I was like, of course we'll do an animation project for a week.
Right.
And the guy who was running it, Bruce, was hyping up these two guys who were coming for the Saturday all-day animation thing. He's like, it's Jose and Edwin. Jose works for Disney. Edwin works on The Simpsons. He's from El Salvador. He's an ex-gang member. Like, I was like, this guy sounds so cool. And I happened to be reading at the time these books about the war in El Salvador and Central America. So I was like, oh, I got it. Yes.
Why?
Why? Right?
Right. Exactly.
I was reading Joan Didion's book called Salvador at the time.
You
Why?
divinely guided, my friend. Okay.
So I was like, I want to ask him about his experience. So yeah, we spent that whole day together, and we just really connected being with the kids and the art, and we were laughing. And I was about to start a master's program at UCLA. So I was like, I'm not going to date because men are vacuums and they suck all your energy. And like, that's the last thing I need when I'm about to do my master's program. Yeah. He was separated from his wife, who I adore. Mm-hmm. And so he was not really thinking relationship. So we had this amazing connection. I really enjoyed this day. And he had invited me, if you ever want to come see The Simpsons, like, come on over. I'll give you a tour. So I gave him we connected. I gave him my number. And I didn't hear from him. And I'm like, okay, I guess he must be married. I didn't know that at the time. But I'm like, he must be married, whatever. But I'm going to get this tour on The Simpsons. So I called him.
Legendary, yeah.
Yeah, like, I want to see this. And I went, and we ended up sitting in his office for 5 hours just chatting. And it was like, from there on out, we were inseparable.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so sweet. What's your kind of favorite memory of him? Like,
favorite memory of Edwin.
Yeah, one of them.
I mean, so I was teaching 9th grade at the time. And when we started dating, so my girls were 14 and they would turn 15 like at the end of the school year, right? So I was at every quinceañera in the greater Los Angeles area.
Sounds about right, yeah.
And so when we were dating, I used to drag him to all these quinceañeras, and he would sit there and draw the kids' Simpsons, and I would like hang out with the kids and dance. And it was just like such a fun sort of marriage of our life experiences and like who we are and like developing this relationship in community. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really fun. But we have a lot of, I mean, one of our last things we did, we went to the Emmys once because the Simpsons were nominated, his episode and another episode. And he didn't end up winning. His friend won.
Oh, nice. And it's like per episode, right?
Yeah, it's per episode. Yeah. So they have this set up like for photos. And we asked the director and AD that won, like, can we borrow your Emmys? So we go do this photo shoot on the couch, like, just like you cool with our Emmys. We're just fucking around because
so you could.
Because we're nobody. I'm a nobody, so I don't care. Nobody's paying attention to me. And they ended up like the guy working for the Emmys took our photo, and then it like ended up on the website. It was like one of the banner photos, and we're like, nobody.
Oh, that's amazing.
But this is just Edwin. When I was with him, I felt so confident and carefree because I knew I was loved, and so there was never a moment of self-consciousness, if that makes sense.
Wow. In that relationship, how long were you guys together?
11 years.
And how did you feel before that? Like, did you struggle with feeling,
dare
we say, worthy?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a conservative small town. I've got like child abuse in there and assault and all kinds of crazy stuff, and just, the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
And misogyny and all the things mixed in there that I just struggled to feel safe, loved.
Like for who you are?
I mean, I just really was told you are too much and you are too wild and you are too blah, blah, blah. And you're not enough of this, and you're not.
So you're too much of one thing, but not enough of another thing. Yeah,
I mean,
it's very common.
So I struggled always with that. Mm-hmm. I did once I started teaching. that started to shift of like
Yeah.
developing a sense of self-esteem from doing this really scary thing and finding success and outlets for my creativity and relationships with these kids and building something of my own.
I was going to say, it sounds like you were stepping closer to your own purpose. And I think we were talking, I think it was off camera. We've been going off and on for a couple minutes, but you were saying being stripped down and like wearing the masks, right? Yeah. And how that like, it takes a minute to get to know ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It takes a minute to get to know like who we are, what makes us tick, what we need, what we're okay with, what we're not okay with, who's okay, who's not okay. And like, you know, I think for me in my 30s, that started like people started to shed and drift away, you know, experiences weren't interesting. And, you know, when you start to, it takes a minute though.
Yeah.
And it can take some profound relationships.
Yeah.
Right. To, and whether they're friendships or romantic, it sounds like Edwin was one of those kind of like.
Yeah. I met him right at the time where it was like, it hit me. I'd rather be alone than be in a miserable relationship. Like that was just the first, I mean, now I'm 46, right? So I'm all about just like my own journey and what makes me happy. But I think as a younger woman, there's this sense of I need to be in a partnership.
Well, it's like because I think not having a sense of your own identity fully and your own sense of real value, you look for that in other people, right? Instead for them to reflect back. I don't know, that was my
gosh,
experience.
yes. And my dad, you know, I grew up in a very small town. Yeah, but my dad
Where was it?
Fox Lake, Illinois.
Okay, Midwest girl.
Yeah. But my dad was the mayor and he was like the town doctor. This is like real small town, like girl stuff. When I grew up in Catholic school, every classroom had next to the clock, it was like a picture of Ronald Reagan on one side and the Pope on the other, Pope John Paul. So as far as I was concerned, my dad, Pope John Paul, and Ronald Reagan were like the most important people on the planet. So I think I grew up feeling like proximity to a powerful man is the way to find value. Ooh. Being a supporting role in this larger than life male character.
And that's a very like baby boomer way to think, you know, in a way. Like I feel like that generation was big on that. So it's interesting that you picked up on that too. I mean, I hear you. My mom and I talk about that a lot actually, and that was her experience too. She always says like, I wish I grew up the way you guys are growing up now with more options, more choices, to know that. But it, you know,
So I think it's been a long journey of realizing, and I guess I figured this out with my last relationship before I met Edwin, was I was dating a musician who was like, you know, relatively successful and doing things that like small town Illinois girl thought was like really cool, like going on tour and all that shit.
It's very cool. Yeah.
And it was miserable. And he would experience these wonderful, exciting things that I thought were like the epitome of cool, but it wouldn't make him happy. And so it was like, I realized like I can't vicariously find the exciting life I'm looking for through this other person, because all those things are happening and it's not creating any joy for him or me. And if I'm going to experience that, it's got to come from my own accomplishments. Like there's no latching onto somebody else's ride.
Yeah, I always said too, I was like, I feel like I'm always meant to learn the hard way.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like my relationship.
Knock on wood, there's time for your house.
Seriously. No, I mean, I get that. But what I love about this, about your marriage or relationship is how he pushed you towards being more yourself and your art.
Yeah, I think it's like a trick, right?
Yeah.
He did have a big flashy job and he was, I mean, successful and on The Simpsons and all. And I love that stuff because I'm a Leo. So I'm like, but yeah, it was like because he made me feel safe and loved, there was all of this energy that was going toward that self-protection and that seeking outside of myself for love and acceptance. Once those needs were met, I had all this energy to create
Wow.
to accomplish things that were scary. Like, wow, the difference that makes to what real love is like, which I don't feel like I experienced that. That it allows you to become your best self because you have a place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was going to ask you what your definition of love was, but that's perfect. And I think, I wanted to point out too, and I think it's like we're, this whole single culture too now, and we don't need a man and we don't need a partner to feel whole. And of course, right? But there's something about somebody that stands still with you and like reflects back your own worth to you. And like, no, we don't need that, but sometimes that's just what we need in order to push us closer to what we need to learn, if that makes sense. Because I've lost myself in relationships a lot, right? And that was my experience when you were talking about like, now I know what like real, like safe love is. And I think a lot of us are seeking, whether we know it or not, that sense of safety, and feeling like I can just exhale with this person or in this moment.
Yeah. There's a dance in life for me of like, what are the lessons that I need to learn on my own? And what are the lessons that can only be learned in companionship with friendships or love relationships, and kind of like really listening to when to make that shift. And so for the last 5 years, like I've definitely dated, I've definitely spent some time in the last 5 years, but I did not want my identity enmeshed with another person's identity. I very much felt like Edwin is my husband, and in terms of identity with another person, that is my person. And also, I wanted to accomplish some things that really scared me. I wanted to do this art show. Like I wanted to do this series of paintings that were extremely vulnerable. They're nudes. And I wanted to have a show because Edwin wanted me to do a show. And it felt like a culmination of our marriage. And I didn't want to, I wanted to do that on my own.
Yeah.
And then when I started the candle company, I wanted, like, business really scared me. It's not my wheelhouse. I don't know anything about it.
Tell me about
I'm
it.
insecure about putting out a product that people can judge. But I didn't want to find a man that would become like somebody I could run to protect me from having to face those scary parts of doing something new.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, until I'm at a place where I've worked through this and I've showed myself that I don't need a man to do business or entrepreneurship or whatever, I'm not ready to invite in a person that can have an opinion on what I'm doing.
So well said. And I think a level of self-trust needs to be built, right? Because we do, I mean, even so, then you get into a relationship and you still become, reliant on them for whatever, but just this pattern, it's, being there. So this seems like an opportunity for you to really,
I think there's like, from the other side of this life, whatever, however you do that. For me, it's like there's certain relationships that feel karmic, that when you get in connect with that person, you're like, oh, it's you.
We've known you before. We've known each other before.
This is a yes. This is a solid yes, because this is about my soul. This isn't just like we have chemistry or whatever. And so how much, I don't think I can, I might find that guy on Hinge, but it's not going to be because I did the right thing. That next person is destined to come in my life. So then what's my job right now? It's like to look at my own old patterns. Like for me, it is still a challenge to communicate with men honestly about how I'm feeling. Why? Because I am afraid they're going to hurt me. I am afraid they're going to be angry and they're going to punish me for that. That is some deep old shit.
Yep.
That as strong as I feel in every area of my life, I still struggle to say, you're great, but I'm not really feeling chemistry. Or you know.
Oh, yeah.
I was just talking about this in therapy today. That's why it's very fresh.
Well, I keep looking over to Kemba off camera because we just had an entire conversation about this last night. Yes, about not feeling, about our wounds, about speaking up and not using our voice and not being able to communicate our needs for fear of abandonment or hurt or rocking the boat or...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and like, it's taken a lot of months of therapy to get to the point where today, she's talking about, you know, dating. And in order to date, I have to be able to make some decisions. And she said, okay, what are you afraid of in ending things with someone? And that was it. Like, I'm afraid they're going to hurt me. And I'm not talking emotional hurt. And these are nice guys. I'm not dating. Like, I have wonderful men around me. I meet really interesting people. This goes way back. This is a culture that I feel like we're all seeing sort of unearthed right now. That's the culture I grew up in. It's like, oh, you're a strong, opinionated, creative, free girl? Well,
we're going to shut you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, valid.
Yeah, and I'm 46 years old.
But
we're still...
I think we're even doing the next podcast on it. So that's on this whole topic.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah, we were coming up with what my next one will be with a solo episode, and that's so funny, just confirmation, I guess. Yeah,
that's called a resonance, right?
For sure. No, I appreciate you sharing that because I think it's so important that we can look at relationships like assignments in a way, and also teachers, and like not every relationship is going to last forever. You know, doesn't mean they're less filled with love or lessons or, you know, and good ones and opportunities for us to work through our own shit, mirrors in a way. Sometimes.
Yeah, nobody needs to be the villain. Like,
no,
I think
I'm so over that.
Yeah.
I'm so over, we broke up because he or she, it's like my last real relationship broke up because our job, like when you said that, like you said that Edwin stood up and was like, my job is done. I pushed you towards, I had a breakup conversation where my ex said something similar, and it was really profound. Like, I think my job was to help you heal, and I think I'm done, you know? And it was like,
chills.
Yeah, it was like, it's complete. And there's something really special about that too. Tell me a little bit more about your art. So you started painting during COVID, and you had kind of well, everybody was kind of out of work, you know that.
I was working because I was the schools were still. I was a high school assistant principal.
Oh, you were assistant principal.
And I mean, a lot of my job was just kind of crowd controls kind of stuff, right? So when we're not all together, it limits what my job was. I just had a little bit more free time and didn't have to get up so early, and I could stay up all night painting while Bodhi was sleeping.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I had painted when I was younger. I took art classes as a kid, but I'm not like, I didn't go to art school or anything like that. And when I was young, like a teenager, I would just by myself sit in my room. Do you remember those Versace ads from the 90s where it was all like, it was Richard Avedon and the girls were all like falling and, you know, it was like, kind of that supermodel crew, like very dramatic photos. And I would take those with like old like puffy paint and different gold paints and like
collage it. You're fine.
Just do like these crazy collages and
all over
my room.
Me too.
It was just right.
It was all the high fashion stuff and like collages are my thing.
It was just so fun, but it wasn't. I wasn't doing it for anyone. It was just something I did alone to express, you know. And then it was like growing up, and it took me many years to come back.
And like, why do we have to grow out of the playful creativity, you know, the way, or why do we get so far away from it?
Yeah. So I started. It was COVID. I had done one still life before Bodhi was born, and that was kind of okay. Like, I haven't done this in a long time, and it felt really good. And Edwin kind of helped me out. Okay, so something I had to face as a painter. Painting is really, really hard. I don't know why it's so hard. It's so fucking hard. It's excruciating for me. I don't have a formula. I'm just figuring everything out. And any painting I've ever done, there is a stage where it doesn't look good and it's not working. And what comes up for me is crippling self-hatred and this sense of, why did I think I could accomplish this? Like, why did I think that I'm a good painter? Like, I suck. I can't do this. And this learning to paint for me as an adult, outside of just me goofing around as a kid, was that it was a journey through the darkest part of my being every time I did a painting. And Edwin would get so annoyed. He's like, he would get angry. Like, why are you doing this? And I would go to him 500 times. Is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? Like, go away. It's great. Like, why are you like this? You know?
Well, because there he is again, being like, you know, it's not for me to say.
Yeah. And so painting for me is a mirror. This process of painting and the visions that come to me in painting are a mirror of my soul's journey. So in order for me to live an authentic life, I had to face just that inner cesspool.
That's where it was. Yeah.
Of crippling fear and shame and doubt. And
over and over again.
Over and over. And the only way I could start to work through it is to accept that part of myself, that in every painting there's that time.
And how did you do that?
It's just keep doing it.
Tell us.
Yeah, I know, right?
But did you have a sense of like, aside about the mic, did you have a sense of like, just like, I'm done beating myself up, I'm tired of that, or was it, did you cultivate compassion? Like,
you know what? It was doing it enough. And I hate to deliver bad news, which is like the only way to get rid of that is to just constantly swim in it.
The way out is through.
I had to do it to the point where I would start to get the feelings, and this painting sucks, blah, 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 and I'd be like, this is boring. I've done this a million times at this point. The only way to stop these voices is to sit down for hours and hours and keep going on this painting. And there's going to be a shift where I go, oh, there it is. And then was the fun part. But a painting is like, it's like 99 layers before you get to the fun part. And then that last part is where I show it to people and they go, wow, that's amazing. You're such a good painter, right? But
think about, that's such an interesting metaphor. Like the last thing that comes is the outside validation.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like...
Well, and I had to stop doing my art for the outside validation too. Because if I was doing it for likes, there's never enough likes. And this person didn't like it. And why didn't this person come? I'm like...
It's really interesting that you said that, because I actually just took myself off social media for a week because this is my art. And I'm doing this for me in a lot of ways, and talking about the things that are meaningful, talking to people that I want to share their message, and it really is coming from inside of me, for me, as a vessel, as a conduit for whatever that needs to come out. And the more I'm on social media, and of course we post socials, and I love my followers have been amazing, but it's like I can't stop looking at them, and then getting, it's like something's messing with my head, and then I'm doubting myself, or I'm not doing enough, right? Then. And it was starting, like, Kimber's like, okay, I was like, yeah, I'm going to take it off the home screen. But I don't even go on social media that much. I mean, I'm in my mid 40s. So it's like, you know, like we were never those people in general. And I just find that like, it's still that sucking in of the need for this likes, the numbers, the views of this, the attention, the shares. It's like, oh, I don't care. That should be the last of the, right? Yeah. This is this. Yeah. This is the art. And the introduction is that horrible thing that I have to keep going through every time that we're talking to, right? Which is like, it's just like that ugly part of like, okay, I'll nail it at some point, or, you know, maybe I won't. And that's just always going to be the funny part. I hear you on that.
So going back to the fire, because I think this relates.
Yeah.
When I had all this money coming into this GoFundMe, and I had people saying, oh my God, she's so amazing. We should help people like her, blah, 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 because she's so... And then I had people going, why are we giving her money? Like, look at what's going on in the Middle East and like she's an American, like, and I had both sides, and I realized like none of them are talking about me. None of these people know me, but they all
like talking at each other.
Well, what they're doing is they're going onto social media and they're projecting their inner world onto it like it's a movie screen. And this is when, going back to yoga, the word equanimity really came into my mind and my heart. And this idea of equanimity being like the Buddha sitting as there's a storm raging and realizing the storm is not personal.
Yeah.
And it's that storm of attention, positive and negative, they're going to move on very quickly to the next storm. This is not about me. And the other thing with the like, oh my God, you're such a great painter, or, you know, whatever people's opinions are. The people who think I'm amazing, they're not going to sit down and do that painting for me. All those likes doesn't equate to shit when it comes to doing the actual work of building a company or doing a painting. And the people who are criticizing, it's like they're projecting their own fear and their own shadow self, right? Because I know I think back, I had a woman who was in my life who was just really audacious and bold and on social media and going all these rants about stuff that I was like, I don't want to say, like, she just annoyed me. She just fucking annoyed me for years. And I couldn't figure out, why does she trigger me so much? This is before candles. This is before painting. This is when I'm doing my career that I feel like is a good, solid career that my dad will think is great. And once I got through that art show, once I started my company, this person no longer triggered me. And I realized all those years of me picking at this person and her being
like triggered,
being triggered, it's because in my shadow, I wanted to express. I had things I wanted to say. And she was poking at that part, but I was too scared. And I didn't think I could do it. And I didn't feel worthy.
Wow.
Right? I love this person now. They don't bother me
That's
at
so
all.
funny.
But it really showed me how when someone really bothers us, it's something in our shadow.
Yep. I went to I don't know if you heard of University of Santa Monica, USM, the school. This is a spiritual psychology.
Okay.
We talked a lot. We did a 2-year program there for a master's, and we talked a lot about that trigger that happens is exactly that. Like it's you seeing you. First of all, you can't see something in somebody that you don't have. Yeah. Right. So even if it's something you want and don't think you have it yet, it's still inside of you, or whether it's something that you can't stand and are judging, it's because there's a part of you that is, you're judging that part of yourself. Right. I always thought that was profound, because it's like, why, what is that? Like, what is that deep irritation that we get with some people, or we can't explain it, that just judgment, that hatred. It's just, and I'm like, oh, well, it's all
yeah. And it makes me a lot quieter about my opinions.
Yeah. My new thing I say to my friends too, I'm always like, when you're with the close people too, you tend to be invested in their well-being and their stories. But my new thing is like, I trust you, you'll figure it out.
Right?
Give them a safe place to just go through. I don't know. You know what I mean? And, I don't know. So I totally.
Right. Like, we're all manifesting our own lessons.
Who am I to say, like, you're like.
Yeah. And I know I trigger the shit out of a lot of people in my life. Family, some different people. And I think it's because over these years I've become kind of shameless about a lot of things, about
40,
just kind of following the inner voice.
Yeah.
And very bohemian, very free. And like, I can see how that irritates some people in my life that are still kind of feeling like they have to live a certain way or do a certain thing, or who aren't expressing themselves, or might have, I don't even have to say or do anything. The energy I bring into a room is some kind of way.
Yeah.
You know, and so I've learned not to take that personally because, you know, first half of my life, it's like, oh no, they don't like me.
They
I
don't
need to
like
change.
me. Right.
But I can really go like, ooh, that's a you problem.
That's my new favorite saying too. I love that.
And the other thing I had to learn is that when people look at me, they think that they're assessing the variables that I'm using to make decisions. And when I'm looking at them, I think I can look at their life and kind of analyze and go,
Yeah, I used to be really good at that.
think I know what they should be doing.
Yes, exactly.
But like in the last 5 years since Edwin died, and I didn't always feel like I was getting understanding from people, I realized they don't understand the variables I'm working with when I make decisions. So it looks like I'm crazy.
Yep.
And part of that is that, like, they don't understand when I know something, when I have a yes, like starting a candle company, I don't want to bag on my dad. But when I told my dad I'm starting a candle company, he said, candles, that's something you do in high school. And that really hurt. But I'm like,
That's a you problem.
okay. Sorry, Dad. But
Yeah.
sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway,
The variables. No,
those
saying,
variables.
Yeah,
So it's like they don't understand how consistent that yes is. That when I look back in my life, anytime I had a yes, my husband, on paper he was a bit of a mess at the time. Not divorced and debt and not the healthiest, and but I was like, it's a yes. I'm going. Or starting the company or doing a series of nude self-portraits when I have a kid, and you know. So there's that. Like they don't understand how the yes works in my life, you know, but like financial variables or relationships, like there's all these things that we don't see in each other, and just karmic journey. Yeah. I don't know what karma.
That's why I stopped judging too. It's just like, that's not my road.
Yeah.
I have enough going on over here.
Yeah. I mean, it was terrifying to let go of my career and what I thought security was. And I mean, knock on wood, because I don't want to have it all collapse. But like, they're working out. And I've done nothing except when Edwin died, it was permission to say, life is short. Yeah. This is going to end. I held his hand and he took his last breath. Like, there is an end to this that I viscerally have experienced. And there, you know, I believe we go on other journeys, but like this particular iteration is over. And that was my permission to throw everything out and just follow the yes. And so far, like,
I don't think you can lose with that. You know, because you trust it so much and it's going to feel right, you know? And I think we all can agree with that. You know, we all have had those moments of the yeses. I think we don't trust those enough, to be honest with you, because we might be bogged down with what we think and fear from other people. So tell me more about the candles. So how did we get to, you know, from the painting to the candles, as these are beautiful and they smell delicious.
Yeah. So, okay. Did you ever do the Artist's Way with the Julie?
I did.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I had the Artist's Way on my shelf since my 20s. Okay.
Like, this is a cool book to have.
I mean, yeah, like this is a very LA thing.
Yeah,
sitting on the shelf. The Artist's Way. So I never did it. And then after Edwin passed and I realized I wasn't going to go back to my career, I was like, when else am I going to do this? Yeah. Like, when do I have time? I don't have a job and I'm, you know, whatever. So I finally did the Artist's Way. I did it with a friend who I met on Hinge, actually.
That's awesome.
So he and I would meet weekly and go through our answers and kind of, and as I started to clear out the barriers within me that kept me from being creative, like I started to trust just the channeling of ideas. Yeah. Just go, right? So I was planning for a women's winter solstice retreat. I guess this was maybe 2022 or 2023. And I had this vision of a box that I wanted to give to all the women that had like a little yoga sequence, a crystal, and a little candle. I'm like, okay, I got to learn about crystals, and I got to learn how to make candles.
I don't care how many times I read that book about crystals. I still have them on. And I'm like,
Yeah, like I need to learn more.
Citrine, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So I did 2 things. So one is there's this wholesaler, these 2 guys that have a wholesale downtown, like we're Skid Row, and I asked them if I could work for them for crystals. I was like, I just want to learn about crystals, so I'll come in once a week and just work for free. And anyway, so that was one thing. And I did learn a lot. I love those guys.
Okay, good.
And the other thing was like, okay, I got to learn how to make crystal or candles. So, and I wanted to do a mini one like this size.
Yeah.
So I started watching videos, YouTube, TikTok, and just started learning. And it was more challenging than I thought, just like everything. And I never got around to making the candles for the retreat.
Interesting.
But I sort of went down that rabbit hole with these candles. And when I did my art show, so I did it downtown in my friend's space. It was amazing. And so a friend had an idea, why don't you make candles with your artwork on them? So I had labels made that were the artwork, which in retrospect, I'm like, do all my friends want nude portraits of me on their candles? I don't know. Like I would maybe do it, some of it differently, but they liked the candles. They really did.
Great.
And a friend of mine from Altadena was like, these are really, really good. Like you can start a small business with this, because he has a small business. He also has an autistic son the same age.
Oh, okay.
Whose mom passed away. So he's in the exact same situation, right? Which is very rare. He's like, you could really do this. And I was terrified and whatever. But I hit a point, it had to do with a family conflict. And it just, on the deepest level, it hit me like, no one is rescuing me. It doesn't matter how pathetic my life circumstances.
You're like, we're good.
Yeah, like, why my family? Why aren't you being my security blanket? Because they're not, and because they can't, and that's not their job. And it just was like, okay, candles, I'm doing it. I'm going all in.
Next indicated step. Yeah.
Yeah, and I could do it at home with Bodhi. He liked making the candles with me. It fit. It fit, and I was like, I was scared to put it out there. I looked up candle makers in Altadena. I didn't find any at the time. I don't know if there were any. I was like, okay, I'll be Altadena Candle Company, because it's such an inspiring, like, beautiful nature. Like there's endless inspiration there for candle scents and stuff. So yeah, I just started small and imperfectly.
Well, they're so beautiful. And when did it start officially?
It was August in 2024 is when I picked the name.
I love that. And we'll definitely let people know where they can get them too. So you are also a mom, we've talked about all of this. You've had throughout this incredible story, you've had the son.
Bodhi. Yeah.
And how is the rebuilding, right, of life and being, the solo mom here?
So Bodhi's, he's had a bit of a journey, that one.
Really?
So when I was 6 months pregnant, Edwin was diagnosed with heart and kidney failure. And I'm 7 months pregnant. He had a stroke and lost his vision, couldn't drive.
Wow.
2 weeks before Bodhi was born, he started dialysis. And it just went on and on after he was born. So already, he's diagnosed autistic ADHD. This is not me blaming myself, but I can understand he had to go through. I didn't think my husband was going to make it to him being born. So I can't imagine that's woven into the energy of his being, the trauma of that time.
Sure.
Really, really hard. So yeah, he's been through it. And then he lost his dad when he was 3. And then I was out of my mind. I was I spent many, many months drinking White Claws by the pool.
Sure.
That is
rightfully so.
how I was.
Yeah.
And painting nude portraits. And considering what he's been through, he is just this like magical, vibrant, playful, theatrical kid. He's diagnosed autistic, but he loves people. He's super social. If anything, he just like, I think neurotypical people were a little insecure, were a little inhibited. He has zero inhibitions. So he's just, waving at people out the car window and like, we're hiking and a group of teenagers walks by and he's like, "Hey, teenagers!" He's really
awesome.
fun. Yeah. And he lives in a liminal space between reality and imagination. So he talks to things. He talks to candles and the lamp and the tree outside. And we have this dynamic where I'm the voice of those things. But when I'm speaking as those things, I am them.
Interesting.
I know. It is really interesting. And it's the same with his dad. So when he wants to talk to Edwin, he says, "Mommy, be daddy." And then he can talk to his dad. And I just answer best I can.
It's like gestalting. It's like a whole method of psychology.
Okay. Well, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
That's incredible. And you get to give him that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, if he's sick or something, I say, "Do you want me to talk to Daddy Edwin and bring him in here? Okay, Edwin, can you come do, he did Reiki. Will you do some Reiki on him?" Or if he, has did a project at school he's proud of, and he's like, "Be Daddy Edwin." And then I get to say like, "I'm so proud of you, son. This is really amazing that you did this." Yeah.
Such a gift. Such a gift
I know.
that he gets to have and then to keep Edwin's spirit alive.
Being his mom is a lot like what I imagine, what's it called? Like the comedy classes where you're just like riffing on each other. It's like being in an improv class. Because if I try to be a traditional mom where I'm like, "Bodhi, you need to do this," because I say like, forget it. It's not
yeah.
But if I approach it in this,
It's so playful and like
he will do anything.
well, you're getting. I felt it also reminds me of like really getting on his level, and he must feel so seen and heard by him.
I mean, in the good moments, not this morning as I was screaming for him to get out of there.
And I am not a mom, but most of my friends are, and you guys, I have so much respect and admiration for that job that I chose not to do in this lifetime.
It's a constant slice of humble pie.
All right, so I have a few last questions for you. So with Bodhi, and all of this that has gone on throughout his life, what do you want him to know?
What do I?
You can take that how you want.
I want to create space for Bodhi to be Bodhi. Like, I'm so glad he has a diagnosis that like he's not going to meet milestones in the typical way, because it gave me permission to be like, yeah, we're not going to meet milestones in a typical way. Throw that all out and let's just see how you evolve as a person. And I think he picked me as his mom because I already am on this journey to deconstruct anything someone told me I had to do just because, like, I'm going to deconstruct it and see, is this real or not? And so I'm just here to keep him safe. And within safe boundaries, just be whoever he is. And to do whatever brings him joy. I mean, I don't know where the world is going. Like this, we don't know.
Look it up while you can.
There's a lot of bad things could happen at this moment in time, right? So it's like, how much time do any of us have on this earth? I don't actually believe it's our one journey. So if, I'm not stressed of like, oh no, we're going to.
But it's knowing this in this way.
Yeah, you're here in this life. You picked me as your mom, just like the wild bohemian lady, and so
sounds like you're a good fit.
Yeah, I want to hold that space for him to do that. And the way I see the candle company is something he could maybe do. I don't know how he's going to develop. That's beautiful. Or what his path is going to be, but I'm like, this kid could really be a yoga teacher that makes candles on the side. Like, I could see that for him, and that might not be what he wants to do. But when I think of creating security for him, like, I don't have a ton of faith that anything is secure really in life, other than just like the spirit, like money, all of those things. But if I can build something that he could step into, like, that's great. You know, that's really anything I experience for myself at this point, like, is icing on the cake. I'm really just here to kind of be there for him.
I love that.
So that's hopefully this.
I love that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay.
So again, just all of this experience, even in the last 5 years, I mean, you've had a whole life, obviously, but with the recent years, and what do you think your soul is here to do then? Your purpose? With all of these messages you've gotten.
Recap it. Run with the wolves. Yeah. It's to get rid of any falsehoods within myself that are not authentic, and then it's just to live my most authentic life. And my job is not to figure out what that is or what that's going to look like or how it's going to manifest. It's like clear the blocks and then just keep creating. And the vision's going to change. I don't know if it'll be candles in 5 years from now or 10 years, or I don't know if I'll keep painting. I don't know, but I do trust if I just keep listening to like that creative channeling that kind of happens, that I'm going to live like the boldest expression of me, Marike, who I am in this particular lifetime. Like, it's gonna work out, and it's gonna be like I'm not attached to any particular manifestation of that. Like, I like vision boards, but I just want to feel fully alive, and I don't want to limit myself the way I think I did, the first part of my life. That's it.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think your superpower is, if you had one?
My superpower, I really don't. I think I'm good at holding space for people to just kind of be them and feel they can let their guard down or be open or honest or authentic or try something new. Like, I think just the way that I live my life gives other people permission to be a little bit more free and a little bit more risk-taking. Again, I'm a Leo, and I know some people think that means that we're very self-centered, and I don't think it's that at all. I think there's just this boldness, this light.
Yeah, people are drawn to
yeah, and I think when people are like, when people connect with me, I want that experience to be where, wow, I feel like I can be more myself.
Mutual. Yeah. That's so beautiful. Marike Anderson, what a pleasure.
Yeah,
what a conversation.
So great.
Thank you. I know. Thank you so much. I mean, you're remarkable, really, and you are magnetic, and I think just this conversation alone can help give permission to people who are maybe stuck or feeling attached or whatever. And I want to just thank you for your time, and thanks for being on Worthy.
Having me. This was really a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and I hope you, and listen, Kemper and I will hang out with you anytime too. We love making new friends.
I mean, we ladies gotta stick together.
Yeah, and we have so much else to talk about in other podcasts. Thank you guys for watching and listening. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Worthy the Podcast. Our goal is to build a community, and we do that through people like you who listen, subscribe, and most importantly, share with someone you care about. Be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening, as well as our YouTube channel. And if this episode resonated with you, leave a review. We want to hear from you. Thanks for being here, and remember, you've always been enough. Period. This podcast is meant to inspire and educate, but I am not a licensed therapist or medical professional. Everything shared here is based on personal experience and perspective, so take what resonates and leave the rest.